going to Einamin to meet my twin Esther after 24 years. We were separated when we were 7. When we were separated, Esther was sent to our father, and I continued living in Einamin. Now, the people who live in Einamin house are Baby Kochama and Kochu Maria, our cook. Baby Kochama is our grandfather's sister.
When baby Kochama was in her late teenage years, she had fallen for Father Mulligan, a handsome young Irish monk who was in Kerala for a year, to read Hindu scriptures in order to denounce them intelligently. She converted to Roman Catholic and joined the convent in the hope that she could get a chance to get close to Father Mulligan, but in vain. Later, she did a course in ornamental gardening and built a fierce bitter garden in Eineman House. She never married.
In Eineman, we had a grandmother's pickle factory, paradise pickles and preserves. It lay between the house and the river.
We used to make pickles,
Squashes,
jams,
curry powders,
and canned pineapples.
and banana jam too. But after FPO banned it because according to their specification, it was neither jam nor jelly. Too thin for jelly.
Too thick for jam. An ambiguous, unclassifiable consistency, they said, as per their books.
Looking back now, to me it seemed as this difficulty that a family had with classification ran much deeper than the jam jelly question. Perhaps Amu, Estha, and I were the worst transgressors, but it wasn't just us, it was others too. They all broke the rules. They all crossed into forbidden territory. They all tampered with the laws that lay down who should be loved and how much.
The laws that make grandmothers grandmothers, uncles uncles, mothers mothers, jam jam, and jelly jelly. It was a time when uncles became fathers, mothers lovers, and cousins died and had funerals. It was a time when the unthinkable became thinkable, and the impossible really happened.
Perhaps none of this had happened if Amma wouldn't have broken the rules.
I did my schooling from Delhi. Unfortunately, in the same year in which I finished my schooling, my father retired from his job. He was an entomologist. So we all moved from Delhi to IMNM. I had little to do in IMNM. Papachi would often beat up Mamachi and me. And nobody wanted to spend on my college education. I always dreamt of escaping that place. Papachi permitted me to spend one of my summers at my distant aunt's house in Kolkata. There, I met my future husband. He was an assistant manager in a tea estate in Assam. He proposed only 5 days within meeting, but thinking that anyone at all, would be better than returning to IMNM, I said yes. Soon, I discovered that he was an alcoholic. When the twins, Esther and Rahel, were 2 years old, he would spend the whole day drinking and not go to work. One day, his manager, Mr. Holick, came to our house.
I'm afraid I have no option but to ask you for your resignation.
Well, actually, there must be an option. Perhaps we could work something out. Think positive is what I always say. Count your blessings. You're a very lucky man, you know. Wonderful family, beautiful children, such an attractive wife, such an extremely attractive wife. Go out for a while, for a holiday, to a clinic perhaps, for treatment. And for the period of time that you are away, send your wife to me to be looked after.
I left my husband and returned unwelcomed to my parents, to everything that I'd fled from only a few years ago. Only that now I had 2 children and no more dreams. Papaji wouldn't believe my story. Not because he thought good of my husband, but because he couldn't believe that an Englishman, any Englishman, would covet other man's wife.
A married daughter have no position in her parents' home. And as for a divorced daughter, she does not have a position anywhere at all. And as for a divorced daughter, that too from a caste marriage, no words can describe the outrage. And a divorced daughter from a love marriage, that also inter-community marriage. I chose to remain silent on that matter. I was burning from inside. Her two kids, Rahel and Istha.
Or perhaps none of this would have ever happened if Sophie never came to visit us. Sophie, the daughter of the maternal uncle, Chaku?
Chaco, my brother, had been a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. One day, when he came home from summer vacation, he found Papachi beating Mamachi in the study. He strode into the room, caught his hand, and twisted it back.
I don't want this to happen again. Ever. Papachi never touched Mamachi again. But as long as he lived, I didn't talk to her either. I met my ex-wife, Margaret Kochama, while she was working as a waitress in a cafe in Oxford. While at Oxford, thought of my family rarely occurred to me. We got married without her family's consent and without my family's knowledge. After my scholarship ended, she tried really hard to keep both ends meet. Got very little help from me. While she was pregnant with Sophie Moll, she fell for Joe. And after Sophie Moll was born, she asked for divorce. I came back to India and taught for some years in Madras Christian College. After Papaji died, I returned to M&M to run the pickle factory.
Chaco was a self-proclaimed Marxist. He would call pretty women who worked in the factory into his room and on the pretext of lecturing them on labor rights, flirt with them outrageously. Mamachi would defend him, saying that he can't help having a man's need. She had a separate entrance built for Chaco's room so that the objects of his need wouldn't have to go traipsing through the house. She secretly slipped them money to keep them happy, and they took it because they needed it. They had young children or ailing parents, and this arrangement suited Mamachi because in her mind, a fee clarified things. Disjuncted sex from love, needs from feelings.
Margaret Kochama would often write to me about Sophie Moll and a wonderful husband, Joe. When Sophie Moll was 9 years old, Joe died in an accident. That year, I asked Margaret Kochama to come visit us for the Christmas, and she cannot refuse it.
A week before Safoi Moi came, preparations at the Emma house had started. It was basically, what will Safoi Moi going to think week? I, Rahel, Estha and Chaco, we went to the airport to pick them up. We left a day earlier, watched the movie, stayed at a hotel in Cochin. En route Cochin, we came across this labor march union. Their demands were that they should be given a break in the middle of the work, their wages should be increased, and that the untouchables should not be addressed with their caste names.
Rahel saw Velutha in the march. Velutha came from a Paravan family. His father, Velia Papin, had worked in the A&M house. Velutha had learned carpentry through workshop and he had his way with machines. He would fix and assemble machines in the Paradise Pickles factory. When he was put in charge of the general maintenance of the factory, there was a great resentment amongst the touchable factory workers.
I, Rahel, Ammu, and Bibi Kochama went to watch the movie The Sound of Music, while Uncle Chaco went to arrange for hotel booking. I started singing loudly along with the song in the movie. The audience got disturbed. Unable to stop my urge to sing, I left the theatre for some time to go out and sing. A man who sells oranges and lemon drinks saw me alone, and on the pretext of talking and offering lemonade, asked me to come behind the counter. There he did something which left me sick to my very soul. I came back to the cinema.
Esther complained of not feeling well, so we decided to leave. Before leaving, I thought I could get him a drink so that he can feel better, which he refused. That was strange. The orange drink lemon drink man gave Rahel some sweets which Esther forbade her from taking. I thought the man was sweet, so I asked Rahel to thank him, on which she said,
If he's so sweet, then why don't you marry that man? No sooner I realized my mistake, but words can't be taken back. Ammu told me if you hurt somebody, they'll love you a little less. Now Ammu loved me a little less. Later that night, Esther slept with Ammu, I with Chaco.
Chaco, do you love Sophie more most in the world?
Well, she's my daughter.
Chaco, is it necessary that people have to love their own children most in the world?
There are no rules, but people usually do.
Chaco, for example, just for example, is it possible that Ammu can love Sophie more than me and Istha? Or for you to love me more than Sophie Moll, for example?
Anything is possible in human nature. Love, happiness, madness, infinite joy. Anything.
So next day we went to Cochin Airport to pick up Sophie and Margaret. When they came home, they became the center of attention. They were welcomed with the cake. After I came home, I went to Veluta.
I held Rahel in my arms, but when she told me that she had seen me in the Communist March, my whole life focused before me. As a young child, I would always come with my father, Velia Papin, to the back entrance of the Aimenam house. Papachi wouldn't allow us. In fact, they wouldn't allow any of the Parwan caste member to enter into their house. We were not allowed to touch anything that the touchable touches. And now, I became the card-holding member of the Communist Party. They might thought that I may cause any trouble to their factory. So I told Rahel that she must have seen my long-lost twins. And then, I looked at Rahel's mother and she was already looking at me. And this happened several times.
Why are you plucking the leaf?
India is a free country.
Get up.
Where are you going?
Somewhere.
I am going to history house
Why?
because anything can happen to anyone and it's best to be prepared.
The history house was known to be haunted. Our plan was to take the boat to the other side of the river. Sometimes later, with things in it to be prepared. Now we had to prepare to be prepared. I and Esther went to Veluta to show him the boat we had found by the river.
The day after Sophie Mall came to M&M, I visited Comrade Pillai. He used to run a press which prints label for Paradise Pickles factory. He brought a new labor union in the hopes of beginning a journey to Legislative Assembly. I went there to discuss new print design. After we were done discussing, I asked him if yesterday's march was a success. I came to know that Veluta was a card-holding member of the party. Comrade Pillai advised me to get Veluta a job somewhere else because as a Paravan, he might cause trouble for us. As I was returning to home, I remembered Veluta mending a boat, apparently for Rahel.
That afternoon, I dreamt of a man with one arm who could do only one thing at a time. He had no other arm to fight the shadows around him. We were close enough but couldn't make love as there were people watching by. He left no image in mirrors, no ripples in water, no footprints in sand. Who was he? Perhaps he was the god of small things. I'm woken up from my dream.
You were having an afternoon meal.
It wasn't a mare, it was a dream.
Istha thought you were dying.
You looked so sad.
I was happy.
If you are happy in a dream, Amu, does that count?
Does what count?
The happiness, does it count?
Is that sawdust? I told you not to go to Velutha, didn't I? If you're happy in a dream, does it count? The truth is, only what counts counts. If you eat fish in a dream, does it count? Does it mean you have eaten a fish? The cheerful man without footprints, did he count? That night, I and Velutha made love by the river.
On the 13th night followed this one, instinctively, we stuck to the small things. The big things were ever lurked inside. We knew that there was nowhere for us to go. We had nothing, no future, so we stuck to the small things. We laughed at ant bites on each other's bottom, at a clumsy caterpillar sliding off the end of the leaves, at overturned beetle that couldn't right themselves, at pair of fish that always sought Velutha out into the river and bit him, at a particularly devout praying mantis, part of cobweb, dust, leaf, rot.
We stuck to smallness. Each time we parted, we extracted just one small promise from each other. Tomorrow, we knew things could change in a day.
2 weeks after Sophie Mall came, in the middle of the rainstorm, Vela Bapen, my father, who had worked in Imenam house when he was young, visited the house. He was terrified. He had seen night after night a boat being rowed across the river. He had seen it return during the dawn. He had seen what his untouchable son had touched, more than touched, loved, entered.
He told Mamachi that he had seen his son and her daughter make love in the boat. He told her how much they owed him and that he should kill his son for the misdeed.
I was in Kottayam, having the caning machine mended. On return, I ran back into one of my old factory workers at the bus stop. He told me with a smirk that Mamiti wanted to see me. Until then, I was unaware of my father's drunken visit to Mamichi. But somehow in my heart, I knew that things have taken a wrong turn from there. I straight away went to Mamichi and I silently bore all the acidic insults that she threw at me. But at that time, there were other things to be taken care of, more than self-respect. I straight away went to Comrade Pillai to seek help, but he told that party was not constituted to support workers in discipline in their private life.
Mamachi lost control. Perhaps her tolerance of men's need as far as her son was concerned became the fuel for her unmanageable fury. I was locked up inside a room. Because of you! If it wasn't for you, none of this would have happened.
Amu's word left an impact on me and Esther, and we decided to take the boat and row across the river, and only come back if Amu begs. Sophie joined us. It was still raining. In the middle of the river, the boat overturned. Esther and I swam to the bank. Sophie couldn't. Because of the ongoing chaos in the house, due to Pippin's visit, nobody cared where the three children went and what they were up to. Next morning, we were missing. So Baby Kochama went to the police station and filed a rape case against Velutha to contain the scandal and save family reputation.
Last night, Velutha came to our house to threaten us. We told him if he did not leave Irma quietly, we will call the police. He started off by saying that our niece has consented. Can you imagine that? Then he asked us what proof did we have of the accusation that we had made against him. He told us we cannot dismiss him because of the labor laws. There was no other way to save the family's reputation. We don't fall in love with the lower caste people. When police went looking for Velutha and the twins, they found them near the history house. The twins were unaware of Velutha's presence nearby. Velutha was handcuffed and he was beaten severely. The twins were inquired and taken to the police station. Then I was called.
Have you found them? Is everything alright?
Nothing is alright. Look, on the basis of FIR that you have filed, we have caught that Paravent. He was injured in an unfortunate encounter last night. He might not be able to make it tomorrow. But his children were saying they went on the boat with their own violation, and that English girl, Sophie, she drowned in an accident. Look, he might be a Paravent. He might have misbehaved, but there is no evidence against him. So he is innocent before law.
Attempted rape?
Attempted rape? That is the rape victim's complaint. Has she made any statement? Have you brought it with you? Look, the matter is very simple. Either the rape victim must file a complaint, or these children must identify this Paravent as their abductor, or I must file a complaint against you for lodging a false FIR.
The children will do as they are told. If I could have a few moments alone with them.
As you wish.
Whose boat was it? Where did you get it from?
Ours, that we found. Velutha mended it for us.
And how long have you had it?
We found it the day Sophie Mall came.
And you stole things from the house and took them across the river in it?
We were only playing.
Playing? Is that what you call it? Your little cousin's body is lying in the drawing room. The fish have eaten out her eyes. Her mother hasn't stopped crying for days. This is what you call playing? It's a terrible thing to take a person's life. Now, all of you will go to the jail. And your mother because of you. Would you like that? 3 of you? 3 different jails. Do you know how jails in India are like? But luckily, the police have made a mistake and he is going to die anyway. All you have to do is go with one of your uncles with the big mishas. He'll ask you one question. One question. All you have to do is nod yes.
I was taken to Velutha, who was severely injured and tired. The police inspector asked me a question. I said yes.
There has been a terrible mistake. I wish to make a statement. Is Velutha here? Can I see him?
It's a little too late for all this, don't you think? The police knows all they need to know. And anyways, we at Kottayam police station don't take statement from Vaishyas like you and their illegitimate children.
I'll see about that.
If I were you, I would go home quietly.
He's dead. I've killed him.
When we left the police station, Amu was crying. So Esther and I didn't ask her what Vaishya meant or for that matter, illegitimate.
2 weeks later, I was returned. Amu was made to send me back to her father, who had by then resigned his lonely tea estate job and moved to Calcutta to work for a company that made carbon black. My father had remarried, stopped drinking, and suffered only occasional relapses. I and Rahel hadn't seen each other since. And now, 23 years later, my father had re returned me. He did so because he was moving to Australia, where he landed a new job.
After the whole incident and Sophie's death, Esther was sent to her father. I continued living in Einerman house. Amu was sent away too. Amu told us that she would take a job to earn so that we three could live together. But that never happened. While studying architecture, I met my future husband. We married and moved to New York. But we got divorced as he felt I didn't love him enough. After I heard Esther was coming to Einerman, I quit my job. I am going to Einerman to meet my twin Esther after 24 years. We were separated when we were 7. When we were separated, Esther was sent to her father and I continued living in Einerman. Now the people who live in Einerman house are Baby Kochama and Kochu Maria, our cook. Baby Kochama is her grandfather's sister.
One day at Einerman, I don't know what came over us. We came close. We held each other close, long after it was over. What we shared that night was not happiness, but hideous grief. Once again, we broke the love laws.
That lay down who should be loved
And how?
and how.